Today is Korean American Day, commemorating the arrival of the first Korean immigrants to the United States, specifically to occupied Hawaii in 1903. For those of us descended from these Korean immigrants, this day isn't just celebratory. It's a reflection on why our ancestors came, what forced them to leave Korea, and what they endured once they arrived. The first group of 102 Korean immigrants arrived at Honolulu Harbor in 1903, and over the next 2.5 years, about 7,400 Koreans came to Hawaii, mostly recruited as laborers for the sugar plantations. They were fleeing poverty, political instability, and the growing pressure of Japanese imperial expansion, supported by Western powers, including the United States, as Korean sovereignty was gradually dismantled. At this time, Hawaii was no longer an independent nation. In 1893, a small group of white American businessmen, backed by the U.S. minister and U.S. Marines, overthrew the Hawaiian Kingdom and imprisoned Queen Liliuokalani in Iolani Palace. A provisional government was installed, and Hawaii was later annexed to the United States in 1898 without the consent of Native Hawaiians. U.S. military power, white-controlled plantations, and later tourism transformed Hawaii's economy. Native Hawaiians were displaced from their lands and livelihoods, and plantation owners imported laborers from China, Japan, the Philippines, and Korea to sustain the sugar industry. Korean laborers were promised opportunity, but encountered exhausting labor, racial hierarchies, and very little legal protection. Korean immigrants arrived during a time of profound loss. In 1905, Korea was forced into Japanese protectorate status, meaning Japan controlled Korea's foreign affairs, military, and diplomacy. By 1910, Japan had fully annexed Korea as a colony. Koreans in Hawaii suddenly had no sovereign nation to protect them. The United States treated them as Japanese subjects, even as Korean communities abroad actively resisted Japanese colonial rule. My second great-grandparents immigrated from Korea to Hawaii during this early period, long before the Korean War and long before the peninsula was divided. My great-great-grandfather, Kim Jong-un, was born on January 15, 1881, in Anmyeonop, Gangwon-do, in what is now North Korea, a region that would be later divided by war, but at the time was simply part of a unified Korean homeland. He lived through the collapse of the Korean Empire, the rise of Japanese occupation, and the trauma of displacement. He immigrated to Oahu in 1904, where he worked as a stonemason and, according to family memory, also contributed labor to the early Honolulu railway system, infrastructure that moved sugar and goods across the island during the plantation era. Like many Korean immigrants, his skilled and physical labor helped build industrial Hawaii. He passed away on June 8, 1955, at 74 years old. My great-great-grandmother, Su Pa-yu, was born on April 16, 1898, in Daegu, South Gyeongsang Province. At 18 years old, during the Korean picture bride era, she traveled to Hawaii and married my great-great-grandfather, Kim Jong-un, in Honolulu on March 15, 1916. Like many picture brides, she crossed the Pacific to marry a husband she had not yet met in person, leaving behind a homeland already under Japanese rule. Together, they raised 4 children, including my great-grandfather, Ralph Kwee-nam Kim. She passed away on January 31, 1958, at 59 years old. Another great-great-grandfather, Hong Yong-soo, was born on March 21, 1877, in Yeonan-up, Hwanghae Province, also in North Korea. In Hawaii, he worked as a mattress maker and eventually retired from the trade. He passed away on January 8, 1945, at 69 years old. He married my great-great-grandmother, Anna Lee, who immigrated from Seoul in 1903 at 16 years old, among the earliest wave of Korean arrivals to Hawaii. They raised 12 children, including my great-grandmother, Evelyn Hong, who married into the Kim family line. She passed away on April 22, 1944, at 57 years old. My family's story is one of many. Korean immigrants not only survived, but built communities, churches, mutual aid societies, and political organizations. They fundraised for Korean independence, resisted Japanese colonialism from afar, and laid the foundations of the Korean diaspora in Hawaii that continues into the present. For our families, Korean American Day is not simply a heritage day, it is a remembrance of forced migration, of labor, of resilience, and of the ancestors who crossed an ocean and reshaped our lives before we were ever born.